I do want to talk about the end of the game because it was an NBA Finals game. The Raptors had a chance to win a championship. They were up by 6 points, 3 minutes to go, and they lost. So, Mac, take us through, right, with the entire country ready to celebrate. We were out in Jurassic Park. What do you think went wrong for them?
Well, I start with the timeout. It was a bad timeout. Kawhi Leonard wasn't playing extremely well up until the moment where he got going in the fourth quarter. He decided he wanted to take over the game. Very impressive moment. And they have the momentum on their side once they take the lead. And Nick Nurse wants to call a timeout at a very bad time. Steph and Klay looked exhausted at that time, right? So you give them an opportunity to go back and regroup, give them a timeout to draw up a play, and they come out. Klay hits a three. Steph comes off, hits a three. And the point where you should have called the timeout is when I think it was like 10 seconds on the clock. And Iggy went to double team the claw at the top of the key, and they were just discombobulated. But what really made that play on this last play right here, give credit to Iggy coming to double team.
Yep.
But Draymond is the key to this. Usually you're inside on that big man.
Gasol, right.
You're inside so he can pick you and not be able to close out to Kyle Lowry. So Draymond, smart, very cerebral basketball player, was smart enough to get on the top side to where he couldn't throw the ball inside to Gasol. He had to make that pass, and he had leverage to get out there and close out.
And again, Draymond got
a piece
two
of
fingers
shot.
on the ball.
Kyle should put it on his IG just to make everyone know. Obviously, if the Raptors don't win one of these next two games, 6 points with 3 minutes to go is going to go down in infamy. But let's put that aside for now. I don't think we're being fair, as you mentioned, to the Warriors. Klay with 2 huge shots. Steph with a huge shot that ties the game.
After struggling a little bit in
huge
that stretch.
shot. You mentioned Iguodala with great defense. Livingston plays good defense on that play. And then Draymond with super-duper effort. All Hall of Fame type plays from Hall of Fame type players.
By the way, that's
they took
Kawhi Leonard, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year.
Right.
Kawhi Leonard that Klay faked out.
And he was just so calm, as of course he is calm. But I think the Warriors won that game. I don't think the Raptors lost it.
Here's my context on the timeout also. I don't know, obviously, what was in whose head as they did it. But if you look back at the tape, Kyle Lowry keeps looking over the bench and doing this, signaling, do you want me to call the timeout or not? And looks over at Kawhi. And you can see Kawhi nod. Now, do I know if that's what Kawhi was nodding at? I don't know what's going on in Kawhi Leonard's head ever. So I certainly don't know in that moment. I do know that Kawhi Leonard is dealing with an injury. And that when you talk about, oh, gee, he turned it on when he absolutely had to, I don't think that was a will thing that he just didn't care in the first half. I think it is because he is load managing through a game to basically figure out when he absolutely has to give his body its all so it makes it through this NBA Finals, a concept that we are now sadly very familiar with, maybe not happening to another player. So I just think that there could have been the context of in that moment those guys needing the timeout more than it looked like. I don't know, though.
No, as a player, Rachel, when
it's rolling, you just roll.
When you're rolling, you're not thinking about being fatigued.
Okay.
No, because you're on such a roll, the adrenaline's flowing. You're not worried about, being tired, or you don't even want a timeout because you're in such a great rhythm at that time. Absolutely.
Yeah, I get that. And look, Kawhi was clearly in such
JVG
rhythm.
called timeout during 13 points.
No.
The defense is going to be just as tired than the offensive player.
Right. And maybe that's worth whatever switch, no matter how tired you are to get it. Absolutely. And I agree with you. Could call a timeout toward the end of that game as well.